So basically, the idea of blending is that you're going to come up with a coffee that is going to be well-rounded, balanced. It's going to appeal to a large sect of people out there. And it's something that hopefully you can create a blend that you can maintain year in and year out. And so that's kind of the idea with the blends.
Okay.
And so it should be something that like most anybody would like this particular coffee. And you can get it any time of the year, and you can get it the next year, and they're going to, the different components of the blend can change and go. You might change 1/3 of it or whatever, but it will still maintain the same flavor profile.
And how do you know what'll taste good together? Like, how do you know blah will taste good with blah?
Kind of experimentation more so. That's really the only way, is to try a coffee with another coffee and to try them all separately. And like when you first create the blend, you usually will start with a coffee that's kind of a neutral coffee. It's pretty well balanced in and of itself, but it's not too bright, it's not doesn't have this huge crazy body, but it's a nice comfortable go-to coffee that's very appealing and everybody can kind of like it. And then you add to it. You add like a bass note and some treble. You add some a bright component coffee. You add a deep-bodied coffee to it, and by doing that, you've created this like more well-rounded, more approachable by a greater sect of people out there. And that's the idea with the blends. Single origins, on the other hand, they are each and every one very unique. I think if you're drinking single origins, you're going to learn a lot more about coffee, because you're going to find out that the Ethiopians taste very different from the coffees from Guatemala, from Central American coffees, and Indonesians and Africans and South Americans. They all have their own kind of thing. So you learn a lot more about coffee. I don't know, to each their own on those, but
even with the blends, even with your bonsai, I've actually learned a lot. Surprisingly,
as far as just like how it tastes differently than other coffees, or
that, and then also if I pull a shot, the different time lengths, I think it tastes better like 32 seconds.
Yeah,
which we all know me. I don't like to admit that kind of stuff.
Right.
But so bonsai is a perfect example, right? Okay. So, that is probably, before the Twilight, and we all love your Twilight so much, but before the Twilight, I pulled a lot of bonsai shots, and it was, one of my favorite coffees still is as far as espresso is concerned. When you were coming up with that, how did you say, okay, this is, originally it was a 4-bean blend, you've kind of tweaked it. How did you say, this is the kind of coffee I want to make? How did you get to decide on that flavor profile to even begin with, to start that process?
Yeah, that was it helped that I already worked with a couple of the coffees at a place that I had worked with before, so I already kind of had an idea what I wanted to use as the base. I wanted to use the natural processed Mexican coffee from Nayarit that I've been using. So that was going to be the base from day one. And so why
is that?
I love that particular coffee. They do a better job with the natural process than about anybody else I know, because it's difficult to do that consistently and to do a great job on it.
Do you have some green that you can show us?
Yeah, absolutely. Look at that. That's it.
As luck would have it.
Yeah.
And so this is natural process. So after they take it from the trees, what do they do?
Pretty much just dry it on patios and rake it and let the beans dry in. Look at that.
That fruit fly has been after Bunny the whole time we've been here. So they let it and so that kind of gives it a little bit of a fruitier taste to it. So did you say?
Yeah, it imparts a little bit of sweetness and some of the fruity nature.
Is that why you said I want that part to be part of it?
I kind of like that. I think with naturals there's a bit of a wild kind of characteristic, something that's hard to put your finger on flavor profile wise, and that changes slightly over time. It also gives it more body, and one way that a lot of people have put more body into their espresso blends is they've used Robusta, and I didn't want to use Robusta, so this is
It smells like bittersweet chocolate, honey.
And check that. out.
Smell my hand, bunny.
Yeah.
So you said, okay, that's what I want to start with, right? I want to start with something that's got that fruity note to it, a lot of body.
Yeah, and a lot of body.
Okay.
And I'd been working with it for years. They do a great job in the processing. It's always very consistent. So I felt, and I knew I could get it locally. So pretty happy with that choice. And then I decided to build on top of that, use that as the base.
Okay.
And to that I've added, originally I added Sumatra, Ethiopia, and a Brazil.
Okay.
And since then I've taken the Sumatra out, and that's partially because I had it in there at about 15% to begin with, which was great. I really enjoyed it in the blend at 15%, but when you're only dealing with like 20 grams of coffee, and the percentages change. It's, you design a blend to be X amount of percent this, X amount of percent that, but then when you pull a shot and only 20 grams of coffee are going into the portafilter, it's not the same from shot to shot. And so occasionally you'd get a shot where it was like 22% Sumatra, and those shots didn't taste very good. The Sumatra really outweighed the other components. It tasted really earthy and cedary and not what I was looking for in the blend. So I eventually took that out, and I've been much happier with it since then. All three of the other components taste good on their own individually as shots. They taste good married together in a variety of percentages, and so I created percentages where even though it's not going to be the same ratio from shot to shot, within that swing you're going to get solid consistent shots that taste good. And I couldn't do that with the Sumatra in there.
Because that one shot could turn somebody off.
That 1 out of 7 or 8 shots, that's one too many. That could be the guy that comes in that's looking as a potential account, or it's just if you are a cafe using that, that customer might not come back. So it's just you just can't do that.
So that's kind of leading into the sort of blends, single origins, is that kind of theory that if you're not, I guess, cognizant of that, you could have some variability between, each shot, whereas a single origin, it's the same bean every time.
That's the nice thing about, especially for espresso, I think, and even for pour over, especially now as with drip coffee, we're going more towards pour overs where we're making 1 cup at a time. So when you lower the ratio, or how many grams of coffee you're brewing with, the blend, if you're using a blend, the ratios get, like if you're only having 10 beans out of a big sack of coffee.
Big sack of coffee. That Velton.
Big sack.
Big of coffee.
The ratio could be way off at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So now that we're brewing with smaller and smaller dosages, I think blends are getting harder and harder to work with. Whereas when you work with single origins, that's one of the nice, especially if you're really into trying to, so many people at home, the home baristas now are trying to really dial in their shots. So they're going to 18.5 grams, and they're taking it down to 201 with their PID, and then they're timing everything, and they're tasting a shot, and they're like, that's just a little more nutty or a little fruitier than the last one, so what did I do different? And if you're using a blend, it could just be that the ratios are completely different than the last shot, so you can't dial in a blend and get that minutely.
If you want to be that.
If that's what you want to do. If that's what you're
focused
looking to do.
on
But
it.
if you're using a single origin, it's the same, it's 100% every single time. So you can, if that's what you want to do, single origins are a great way to go. If what you want is a consistent coffee every single morning that's going to be fairly the same year in and year out, or if you're going into a cafe, or you are a cafe, and that's what you want to serve your customers, then you're probably better off going with a blend, because it's going to be fairly much the same consistently. But if you're really wanting to play with different coffees and taste different things and see what different origins are doing, and you want to nail down your brew profiles, you have to go single origin at that point, and you're going to learn more about coffee.
So
by doing that.
So do some single origins taste better than? Not taste better. Can you use every single different kind of coffee as a single origin, or?
Yeah. I mean, they're all going to have different attributes, and we're all going to have different palates and appreciate different things. But yeah, there's someone who likes, there are people that just love Brazils, love Colombians, love Africans, that hate Sumatrans or love them. And the nice thing about it for me as a roaster is that, like, there's been a lot of coffees that have surprised me. I used to not like Sumatra or Indonesian coffees that much, and this last year, they've started to do such a better job with their processing in these countries and within the industry, that you're starting to come up with coffees that totally shock you. You can't believe that this is from Java, or so that's been fun. The industry is evolving so quickly, and at the estate level, they are doing so many different cool things on the farms that you never know. Coffees from Guatemala will taste like something from Africa. It's pretty crazy.
Now, I just might be talking out of my sack of coffee here, but I remember back in the day, you and I talked about, espresso blend versus drip blend, and how, an espresso blend you can make espresso with. It will also taste good as a drip coffee, but maybe the converse isn't true with a drip blend, where a drip coffee might not taste great as an espresso shot. Am I talking out of my sack of coffee here? Did I misinterpret you?
No, I agree with that.
And why is that then? Like, because they're like making that drip coffee, they're formulating it in a way that it's like not going to stand up to that kind of pressure profile, or what?
I would just say that, like, not all coffees taste good when they're concentrated down into an espresso. Like, you do that and you try it. I would say I always find it interesting still, and like I enjoy it almost always, no matter what, because I learned something from it. But
That's so cute, Velton.
I enjoy, like, honestly, like, if I drink a bad coffee, you still learn something from it, and maybe I don't want to drink it again. But but I think not everything concentrated tastes good as a concentrate.
Okay.
Yeah. But everything that is designed to be good as a concentrate, if you take it back from that and you pour it as a drip or something, it tends to work fairly well that way.
I see.
So, is there a difference? We always talk about Robusta beans.
Mm-hmm.
What is Robusta compared to Ethiopian? Is that like apples to oranges? Or is like Ethiopian the bean and then Robusta is the what?
Robusta is the variety of the coffee, and they tend to, Robusta grows low level, or lower elevation. It's a different plant.
It's a whole different plant. Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
different variety. Yeah, so the Arabica coffee grows high elevation, and the Robusta tends to grow better low elevation. And the coffees that grow at low elevation, they get more sun. That they mature rapidly, and they just tend to not really have a lot of idiosyncrasies or complexity in the coffee. They're really basic. There's also generally about twice as much caffeine in the Robusta coffees. They tend to impart more body, so some people will still use them in espresso blends to get that body from them and a little more crema. But caffeine is it's bitter, and so they also tend to taste more bitter. They don't taste as good, generally speaking.
Is it? I think it's used a lot in the like instant world, where they have to freeze dry it and then do all this processing so that
the plants,
it'll kind of stand up a little bit longer through that really aggressive processing.
Yeah, and the plants, they produce a lot more coffee, so it's great for instant. You can get it a lot cheaper.
But nothing you use.
I've never roasted Robusta. Yeah,
He's 100% Arabica.
anti. I am. Yes.
I never knew that.
Yeah. So far, I can't say I won't ever, but right up to date, I have never used Robusta in anything. But I might if I come across one that was really good. Then I would, but I haven't.
So how often do you go out and buy beans?
I'm always so far. I'm still. Hold on. Sorry. I gotta turn this off.
Maybe I might edit this out,
And
but
maybe
Bunny just did that awesome dance
that
move,
was-
so I don't think I can.
that
I don't think I can.
No, I'm always. I'm still not doing a lot of direct trade kind of stuff. There's a couple of people I buy from that are kind of direct, but mostly I'm working with importers still. So like, I'm buying from probably 4 or 5 different importers right now, and I'm in communication with them pretty regularly. I'm always looking at their offering sheets, and anytime I see something new come up, or they've emailed me that they've got something new coming in that they know I might be interested in, I request samples, and then I roast those, and I see, and in certain coffees, certain blends, I know when components are going to be going out of season, and I know a couple months in advance, so I'm already starting to look for what the next component for that blend is, and so I'm getting samples of things that could replace it in the coming months.
You're almost like a chef.
It's totally like a chef.
I was thinking chef or perhaps mad scientist.
A little bit of that.
You're like the Swedish chef, and she's Beaker.
You're so awesome.
Cool. Velton, have you been to any of the origins? Like have you been to any of the farms?
No.
Yet?
No.
That would be cool.
So when are when are you going to take Bunny and I on a trip?
Our coffee gear needs to do a trip, and I will.
That would be so awesome.
No,
That would be awesome.
It's on my list of. It's been on my list of to-dos for many years.
Where would you go? Where would be your first place you'd want to go?
I think I've got 2 connections for both Mexico and Brazil that I can easily go there. And so those are high on my list because I know people that I'm already using their coffee, and I just like to see what they're doing and go visit it. And and then there's also, if I was getting a little bigger and be doing a little bit more direct trade or more interested, there's other places I'd like to go to as well.
So I need a passport, is what you're telling me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Funny. You just need to get one.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Who doesn't have a passport?
We're going to Costa Rica.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Bunny, you have any other questions? I guess that's a little bit, we answered your question about your love for Twilight. You are a drip coffee drinker, really. You don't drink espresso very much, so that might account for why.
Twilight's a
know.
little darker roast. It's a little bit more chocolatey.
Very rarely will I drink espresso. And if I do, we have so many grinders in the showroom. I'll always go to my Rocky that has the bonsai.
Very good.
Yes, Velton, you've taught us well.
If anybody hasn't tried it, they need to try it.
Yeah.
Coffee.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And he's so sweet.
Okay, I want you guys to break it down.
What are we going to break down?
I don't think I can break it down.
Velton, you can do the robot. Yeah, see?
Oh, I got no moves.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Awkward. Fun awkward, though.
Cheerleading.
Yeah.
Cheers it. Come on. That would be something.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you for letting us come and terrorize you in your roastery today, Velton.
Thanks, Velton.
You're a doll.